Apologies for trying to get and coordinate our team member who is stuck in an emergency. And as you would know, as obstetricians and gynecologists, we may be called into something which is beyond our control, and we have to go and attend to the patient first. Yeah. I don't know if Achala is there. I don't see Achala there.
Dr. Chandralata madam is there.
Yeah. That I can see. Chandralata is there. I'm just trying to see. Lakshmi Srikhande also should have joined in. I don't know if she's there. No. Lakshmi, are you there? No worries. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, yeah, we can start off the program. And essentially, before we do that, I will request backend team to please share the message from our president for Foxy, Dr. S. Shantakumari, please.
Dear friends, Foxians, and the women of my country, I am Dr. Shanta Kumari, President of the Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecological Societies of India. As a doctor and a woman myself, I have observed very closely how prevalent violence against women is across the strata of our society and the enormous impact it has on the health of our women. My theme for the year as the President Foxy is Foxy for all always, and Dheera, stop violence against women.
Dr. Shanta Kumari, who has relentlessly campaigned for the issues of girl child. I was happy to be the ambassador of Foxy Figure Ox in 2013, and I hope that me being an ambassador has motivated a lot of girls and many families.
Violence against women is a serious human rights violation, leading to injury and sometimes even death. Unfortunately, 1 in 3 women experience some sort of physical and sexual violence during their lifetime. Violence in pregnancy is also widely prevalent, leading to unwanted pregnancies, unsafe abortions, neglected pregnancies with no antenatal care, all these contributing to maternal morbidity and near miss. As obstetricians and gynecologists, we have a great opportunity to assess and support women who experience violence because of the unique opportunity where we get to see them during the pregnancy, during the family planning visits, during their annual checkups, and multiple other times when they come to us. I strongly believe that by eliminating the violence against women, we are not only reaching the SDG goals, but also creates a just and equal society for our women. Until we make men and boys active partners, we can never end the violence against women. In an endeavor to sensitize our own fraternity, my initiative of Dheera was started to eliminate violence against women.
I completely support her vision and mission as President Foxy, and also especially support her campaign, Dheera, Stop Violence Against Women.
It was in 2016 at the launch of Dheera. We brought together the police, the obstetrician gynecologists, the National Commission for Women, the women and men on one single platform to wear orange and say no to violence against women. We organized the public forum and cyclothon to launch Dheera. In 2017 at the Foxy Figo Congress, we partnered with men and organized the Bikeathon and the Flash Mob. The high point of Dheera was at the International Figo Congress at Rio, Brazil in 2018. The Declaration on No to Violence Against Women was signed with Figo and WHO. It was here global societies pledged their support to end this violence against women. The Dheera campaign and march at the World Congress of Figo in Rio in 2018 got wide international publicity. No change is possible unless the young minds adopt it and make it a part of their life. Young minds are open and creative. They accept change. Foxy has always worked with adolescents for their health and well-being. Dheera this year adds a new page. I'm happy to share with you all that we are launching the Dheera online school certification course across the length and breadth of our country in all the schools. Foxy for all always. Dheera, stop violence against women.
Yeah, thank you, Sriman. So, having heard our beloved president talk about her entire initiative and why she wanted to take this forward, it is important for us to go through this entire program in the next hour and a half. Essentially, we'll be talking about violence against women, what essentially is Dheera, various types of violences against women that one faces, and this does not leave out the boys as well. We do talk about them as well. The management strategies, what is peer pressure and how to navigate that, including the support system that is available to you for taking this entire process forward within your spheres of the school and the friends. There are various ways in which you can join the Dheera program, whether it is spreading awareness within your colleagues and schools, also initiating something with other schools who may want to participate, and you could lead that entire thing over there in bringing those schools to the fore and joining this entire movement related to Dheera, which is no to violence against women. Before I continue, are there any teachers also on this call, or it is only the students? Just put in the chat box if there are teachers in the group, and I will continue. Just put in the chat box, yes, 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 and that's about it. So I know that there are some teachers also. So what is violence against women, and what essentially Dheera does and how does it play into it is something that we are going to talk about. I've already said what the agenda is going to be for the day, and essentially talking not just about Dheera, WOW, but the management strategies, which are very, very critical that each one should know about in terms of what and how you need to do where. Registration and pre-test you have completed, and that's the reason why you are here in this program. At the end of the session, in the chat box, a link will be provided for the post-test and feedback. Do click on the link and submit post-test and feedback so that you become eligible for receiving your certificate for having completed this course successfully. What is Dheera? Dheera essentially means being courageous. It's the courageous power of being together. And hashtag Dheera together is something that we are trying to build a voice with hashtag Dheera together. So wherever you get an opportunity, please do tweet hashtag Dheera, say no to violence against women. Not all men practice violence against women, but all women do live in that fear. And it is not common, or it is not just limited to our country. It happens even in the developing world or the developed world as well. And therefore, cognizance of that needs to be taken as we move forward. Violence against women definitely is a human rights violation. Both short-term and long-term physical, economic, and psychological consequences are coming to the fore. They prevent their full and equal participation in the society, which everyone has been fighting for and moving forward with. And its magnitude definitely is immeasurable, not just in terms of what the woman goes through, but what the family goes through and what the children go through. Conditions created by the pandemic, which is COVID-19, including the lockdowns and everybody being stuck in the same household, has just about increased that much more. It could be because of several reasons, but nevertheless, it has gone up. And as per the reports that we have gone through in the past, there's almost a rise of almost 300% of violence against women who are stuck at home in this pandemic period. Now, the question is, please put it in the chat box. Are you aware or have you seen any women being beaten, threatened, scolded at home, school, or neighborhood? Please put in the chat box if you feel yes, you have seen, And do you think this is right? What is such a behavior called? And is there any word to describe it? Please put it in the chat box, please. It's good to see that a lot of people are saying no, 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 sir, which is good. Yes, it is not right. I agree with you. And that's the reason why we are bringing this to the fore for everyone to talk about it. So what is such a behavior called? Is there any word to describe it? Please put it in the chat box. It's definitely, we have been talking about it, that is violence against women. And this violence against women can be perpetrated in any form, anywhere. It is the most widespread of the violences that one can talk about. It is most shameful human rights violation. It knows no boundaries, no geography, culture, or wealth, and even in the most up-to-do and well-to-do societies, this can be seen. And as long as if this continues, there is no real progress or development that one can see. And therefore, we need to bring in that here. And what exactly is vow? It is forcing a woman to live in fear, both mental, sexual, and physical. So it is not just physical, it can be mental as well, and it can be sexual as well. And therefore, we need to talk about it. Where are the roots coming from? I mean, why is it so prevalent and what is exactly happening over here? Essentially, it results from toxic masculinity, patriarchal society, gender stereotyping, sexism, and gender bias. I'll talk each one of them in a bit to explain what exactly these mean and how it is taken forward. Gender bias, essentially preference of male girl over girls. Girls are considered as burden, feticide and infanticide, neglecting female health issues. I'm sure we have seen a lot of this happening. In fact, a case which happened just about last week somewhere in Rajasthan, where a woman who has already delivered 3 girl child in the last 5 years was forced to have another pregnancy, and all of these were delivered through a cesarean section, and unfortunately, because of various medical complications, the woman died, leaving behind 3 girls, which the father has to tend now, and maybe the family itself has been responsible for what we have seen there in Rajasthan. And there are several such cases that we keep seeing across the country in terms of gender bias. What is patriarchy? A system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Decision-making rests with the male in the family. And we have seen quite a bit of this. Particularly in some of the states, it is more and more prevalent, and one can get into serious trouble if you're living in one of those states, unless something is done and we build our collective voice to fight against the same. Gender stereotyping, it's always thought about, what do you think? Is it right to put something like this, that girls should always be faithful, emotional, tolerant, sympathetic, independent? What do you think about that? And boys, what do you think? Are you supposed to be always competitive, logical, strategic, aggressive, independent? I agree with a lot of comments here. I'm seeing a lot of girls writing here. I don't know if this school is a co-ed or a all-girls school, because we need some feedback from, okay, Manik, I see you have written something. Aditya also has written something. Dhruv, yes. Vraj, Abhinaya. Okay, so it's a co-ed school. That's great to see out here. So we need a lot of participation from each one of you as well. And yes, but this is prevalent. Gender stereotyping stares in your face, unfortunately, and that is something we as individuals need to take cognizance of it. And you as youngsters, boys and girls, need to build it into your DNA, as we call it, that this does not happen when you grow up and move forward in your life. Sexism is a prejudice, stereotyping, discrimination typically against women based on sex and gender. Oh, she's a woman and therefore she can't drive. Oh, there goes a woman who's riding a scooter. Be careful, stay away, half a mile from her. Don't you think these are some examples of sexism? Any other examples that you can think of? I would love to hear from you in the chat box, please. Yes, female engineer, Chika. A girl is not good in mathematics. That's a good one. And I have two girls at home. One of them is an electrical engineer, and other one is a PhD. Female, yeah, and she's a PhD in sports medicine. Yeah, so that's good. That's lovely to have. Girls can't ride bike. Yeah, boys are better at sports. Yeah, so yes, those are the kind of sexist remarks that one sees. Toxic masculinity. I'm a man. I'm strong. I don't cry. I can control. I'm the boss. I'm the savior. These are the kind of comments that we see and hear in our day-to-day life, and something which we need to keep a watch out for. So what essentially we want to do, and why as doctors we want to talk about women and talk about violence against women? Essentially because gynecologists are points of contact to recognize changes in lifestyle, and any issue that takes place in terms of violence against women, they do end up at the doorstep of a gynecologist, and therefore we need to talk about it. Most of the health problems are rooted in violence. We have seen several such cases in our day-to-day practice where women are being tortured, butchered, and it's not just happening for youngsters, it's happening for older people. It's not that and it's happening during pregnancy and whatnot. And serious health problems during pregnancy have roots in violence, is what we have seen over a period of years. So why Dheera? Essentially, it's a campaign founded by our president, Dr. Shanta Kumari, to build a voice, to build a noise level to stop violence against women, so that we collectively can do something about it. Each drop in the ocean contributes to building the ocean. Each small piece of the jigsaw puzzle adds to making the complete picture. This initiative, Girls and Boys and Teachers, is an all India initiative to sensitize, orient, train about 36,000 obstetricians and gynecologists, 500,000 boys and girls from 9th to 12th grade, and you're part of it, and almost 15,000 teachers is what we are trying to reach in this phase. A lot of work has happened across the country, and there you have a president also talking about this in different walks of life and different places together. So Courageous Together, say no to violence against women, hashtag, please tweet, hashtag Dheera Together. Building a voice, our target is to reach about 100,000 tweets so that your courageous voice can be added to this conversation. Once again, to repeat, pre-registration and pre-test, you have already done. Post-test and feedback is something you make sure that you complete at the end of this particular session over here. So with that, we come to the end of the first topic. I will, okay. Yes, okay, I'm just going through the various comments which have come in. I think I could quite agree with you with most of them. Hi, Lakshmi, good to see you here.
Hi.
Yeah. Oh yes, women belong in the kitchen. So that's a very common one that we hear. Girls should be good at listening. Yes, that's another good one that I keep facing. But yes, we are trying to make a change, and you are the change makers who are going to take this forward. Let me move on to what are the various types of vow. So while we get on to the next topic, please feel free to keep adding your voice to the chat box as well. I can see that all of you have been very active here, and it's really nice to see that. So what are the various types of vow that we face or see? There could be physical violence, there could be psychological violence, and there could be a combination of the two. And this is something which I spoke in my earlier talk as well. So there could be acid attacks, frustration coming out, honor killing, femicide, sexual violence. Psychological could be financial manipulation. We many often do not realize that it is very critical, because many a times it is understood or it is taken for granted. A homemaker really does not bring in the money, and therefore is dependent on the man of the house to bring in the money, and therefore is completely dependent on that. And that could be used as a manipulative tool. Emotional abuse, bullying, stalking, eve teasing, criminal intimidation are various things. And combination, of course, is related to the domestic violence itself. Reiterating, post-tested feedback will be shared with you in the chat box. Please click on the link and submit your details over there. If I'm going too fast, please let me know in the chat box. I can slow down a bit if there is any kind of lack in understanding because of the speed with which I'm talking about. Okay, thank you, Ritika and Divya. Perfect. Dhruv, thank you. So physical violence, we have seen this one. You must have seen the movie Chapak or must have heard about it. Now, Miss Lakshmi Agarwal was a victim of such an attack, and it is a very, very sorry state of affairs. And she is one of the strong women who has come out and been a strong proponent of making sure no other woman goes through a fate that she suffered, very, very bravely, and moving forward with that. So that is something which is commonly thought about, but not as much, seen, and it could be used as some kind of a blackmail and, leading to a situation what Ms. Agarwal faced. So what can you do if an attack is threatened or attempted? If an attack is, if you're attacked, then how to report, what to report, and how to report. So essentially, if attack is threatened or attempted, do ensure that you report to the trusted adult, whether it is your parents, whether it is your school teachers or the police. Make sure you stay away. Always travel with others. Under Section 326B IPC, imprisonment, not less than 5 years, but may be extended up to 7 years, shall also be liable, including fine. So please take cognizance of that. If attacked, report attack to a doctor. Make sure treatment is given and is available as soon as possible. Report attack to an adult. Talk to parents, teachers, police. Make sure you stay away from the perpetrator of the crime, because keeping safe yourself is very critical after the first episode, or subsequent episode can be avoided thereafter. Section 326A IPC can also be charged, leads to imprisonment not less than 10 years, and which may extend to imprisonment for life. Fines are charged to meet the medical expenses of the victim as well. So there is help there. Oftentimes, help is delayed or justice is delayed, but it's because of the system that we are in. But please take heart. Please do not get disappointed if you are in such a situation. But first and foremost, do not get into a situation like this. Reach out immediately for help. But should that happen, have patience and it will happen. Honor killing. I don't know how many of you have heard about this word honor killing. And what is it? It's a murder of an individual, either an outsider or a member of the family, used to protect the family honor. How could she do this? How could he do this? And if he or she has done something which is not the value system, archaic value system followed by the family, then that person needs to go and no longer needs to live. And the person has brought disrepute to the family. That's honor killing. Femicide, it's a gender-based crime, arises when society prefers males over females, can take forms of women-based hate crime, infanticide, which is killing the newborn female child, feticide, abortion of fetuses based on the gender. We have come a long way as a country in terms of the laws and rules which have been framed in terms of even gender selection during, ultrasounds, which used to happen in several years back. All of that is absolutely controlled now, and that cannot happen and will not happen. So therefore, but it's still some few things here and there do slip out. Sexual assault, an act in which man sexually touches the woman or compels her to get naked, forcefully and without outward consent. Consent is something we'll be talking about in very, very detail in the subsequent presentation. So please do pay attention to that. Punishable under Section 354 IPC with 1 to 5 years of imprisonment and a fine. It definitely causes a long-term trauma to the victim. And, if you see a sexual assault taking place, stop it or call for help. Now, how to do that, what to do, will be covered in the subsequent section. So please do pay attention to that as well, because we do not want you to get into a situation by providing a help, you yourself get into trouble. But there are ways and means to do that. Nirbhaya Act and Section 375 IPC are there to protect women against any type of rape. 354A IPC protects against sexual harassment and unwanted physical contact. It's a POXO, it's not POSCO. POXO Act 2012 protects minors from sexual abuse, and it has been taken forward much in advance. If you are a survivor or anyone you know as a survivor, do not shame yourself, because it is not your fault. It is not, you are not to be blamed. Don't take a bath or wash yourself immediately, because there could be a lot of procedural things that need to be completed in terms of the documentation, which is so very critical, because half of the time or more than half of the time, the perpetrators go scot-free because the documentation is not complete, not fully recorded, and therefore loopholes are found and the person can go scot-free. Raj, you're doodling something, please avoid that. Write down what has happened, inform the police, report in a timely manner so that there is evidence, and do not be afraid to speak up, as you are never at fault, and an abuser is bound to repeat their actions. So please be careful and do speak up. Their psychological violence essentially involves financial manipulation. What do you think in this case study? Raj monitors his wife, Ananya's bank account, and doesn't let her buy what she wants, even if it is required. Raj's parents do not let Ananya go to work. What do you think? Is it right? Not right? And what can Ananya do? Please let us know in the chat box, please. What is it that Ananya can do? Great. I agree with you. It's her house, not her prison. Can Ananya do something? Yes. Can inform friends, police. Can leave Raj. Yes. That's the ultimate thing. Can speak up. Maybe police. Yes. Fantastic. Can file for a divorce as well. Yes. All of that one can do, and can seek out support from family and friends for sure. Emotional abuse essentially is undermining a person's sense of self-worth. Oh, you're good for nothing. You can't do this. You're never capable of doing this. Name calling. She is a SLUT. She is, a BITCH or something similar. Which happens directly on the face or behind the back. Damaging a partner's relationship with the children. Also, trying to feed the children with something which is not relevant to the concerned person, not letting your partner see friends or family. Here's another case study, and let us know what Shreya can do. Abbas, you're also trying to do a bullet point there. Can you avoid doodling? Shreya is married to Ashok, whose colleagues mock him for earning less. Feeling hurt over his pride, Ashok takes out his frustration by drinking more often, frequent rage behaviors, tantrums when breaking things, yelling, constantly blackmailing Shreyas for divorcing her. This constant fault-finding behavior of Ashok has had a toll on the mental health of Shreyas. What can Shreyas do? Please put in the chat box. Consult family members, yes. Report, divorce, yes. She can also report, yes. Maintain, great. Report. So there are various signs of emotional abuse, overreacting for small things, controlling you, telling you how to dress, what to not wear, humiliating and embarrassing you, feeling jealous when you're close to someone else or you're doing well, threatening to hurt themselves. If you do this, then I'll hurt myself, disreputing your feelings, nothing you do or say is good enough. That's what we constantly see. Oh, you've done this fine, but you could have done this better, or you could have done something like this. Constantly putting a person down, and it could go both ways, both for the man and for the woman as well. Bullying. This is something I don't know how many of you have faced, but this is something which constantly keeps happening. It's a continuous harassment, either verbal or physical. Can be in the form of cyberbullying or ragging. I'm sure a lot of you are on Instagram, on Twitter, and several other social media, and you would have seen something like this, somebody being pinpointed and somebody being made the scapegoat for all of this. Neil, a senior, asked Ria out, and Ria rejects him. He feels embarrassed, and to bandage his pride, starts a rumor that Ria is a slut. He starts to embarrass and harass her every day, calling her fat and all of that. And essentially throws eggs at her or whatever possible that he could do, and makes sure his friends also start teasing her. You see this taking place. What do you do? Can you help Ria? Who do you contact? Please put in the chat box. Has anybody faced this? It's fine if you would not like to put that in the chat box here, but if you have faced this, there are solutions. There are ways forward, which we'll talk about in the next couple of slides as well. Yes, contact screen. So cyberbullying is something which is very, very commonly seen of late because of the burst in the social media, and it takes different forms of bullying and abuse. And it can at times get aggressive, can be intimidating, and can also bring shame and can lead to a person going into a shell. Did you know that females are 2 times more likely to be victims of cyberbullying? And this we know is for a fact. Various types of cyberbullying are seen. I don't know how many of you are aware of this. Exclusion, gossip, frapping, harassment, outing and trickery, cyber stalking, fake profiles. Fake profiles is something, sorry, we see very commonly happening, thinking that a person will not be tracked, but given the IP address and the cyber police, which is happening, one complaint down there, one can track down everything, the entire history and geography of where the person is and how he has created that profile and what he or she has been doing. Recently, you must have seen a case whereby a fake profile has been created in order to sell women, especially Muslim women. So I'm not getting into that, but people do get into all these kind of things. Exclusion essentially is deliberately excluding someone from an online group. Gossip, definitely, trying to damage a reputation by talking something ill about the person. Frapping, impersonating a person by logging into someone else's social account. You get to hold of the password and you do that. Harassing, constantly, intentionally posting something. You must have seen that happening a lot with celebrities. Right or wrong, we'll not get into it, but nevertheless, it should not happen. Outing and trickery, tricking someone into revealing personal information and then using it to humiliate him or her. Cyber stalking, essentially following and harassing someone constantly and continuously on the social media. And fake profile creation is already I've talked about. So these are various forms that they can take, and please be aware of them and report it immediately to your parents, to your seniors, to your school authorities, and if need be to the police and the cyber cell in consultation with your parents. What can you do if you're being cyberbullied? Check the platform, where it is there, check the platform's policy and get in contact with the customer representative and, try to get them on board. And if you're not clear, get clarity from them. Make sure you collect screenshots and block the concerned person, including reporting about them, and document it well. So with the screenshot, approach the cyber cell. We will be sharing some phone numbers in the subsequent presentations, which you keep a screenshot of it so that you can report all of that and lodge an FIR with the women-oriented SHE teams as well. Stalking, essentially following someone repeatedly and trying to make a contact without the person's consent. It could be, following them, or it could be taking pictures of them unannounced. Can occur, which is what we mean by it can happen digitally as well. So section 354D IPC does, bring in about a person's 1 to 3 year of imprisonment and can also be liable to fine. So in case of Sanjay and Meera, Sanjay is following Meera constantly, taking pictures. His friends also start to encourage him. Something like a Bollywood, a movie. In Bollywood, we do see quite a lot of it, the hero is constantly following the heroine here and there and everywhere, till finally the heroine falls in for her, and they fall in love with her, everything is hunky-dory, and they stay married for and live happily ever after. But that's not real life. That's not happening in real life, for sure. And it definitely is a crime. So Meera starts to feel uncomfortable. Let us know what she can do next. Obviously, she can report, get to the cyber cell, seek help. And we keep building this up because each one of you should know that there is help available, not just from an IPC or Indian Penal Code point of view, but help is available from your family, from your friends, from your school and your teachers as well. Voyeurism. Watching and taking pictures of women without consent, without the knowledge of the woman. There is a law for that as well. Section 354C IPC imprisons the culprit for 1 to 3 years on first conviction, and it can go up to 3 to 7 years for subsequent convictions as well. So take note of it. Eve teasing. We may think it's and take it very lightly, but not anymore, and it should not be done. It's essentially obscene actions like unwanted remarks or sexual advances by a man to insult a woman and vice versa. There are two sections here, 294 IPC and 509 IPC. Both of them have got punishments in terms of time that you need to spend in prison, along with fines as well, should action be taken and proven. And in all of this, the critical thing is that you need to generate quietly evidence and documentation, which will all go on to support you as you go along, bringing it about. Criminal intimidation is another form of violence. When someone is threatening you to cause death, hurt you grievously, or to destroy your property. 503 IPC takes care of that and can be invoked in such a case. Sexual harassment. Now, this could happen in a place of work, in school, in practically every environment that one lives in, and can do that. It could be asking for sexual favors, making sexual remarks, touching you inappropriately, showing you pornography without your consent, all constitute sexual harassment. Section 354A IPC takes care of this particular thing. Here is a case. If you saw something like this, let's put in the chat box, what is it that you can do? Unseasonal rain has caused a farmer to lose a considerable amount of crop and he was unable to sell. To make ends meet, he takes a loan from the village loan shark, Raghu. After a few months, unable to pay his loan back, his daughter offers to help settle his father's death by working with the loan shark. Taking advantage of their desperation, Raghu sexually harasses the girl. Please put in the chat box if you saw something like this, what is it that you would do? Yes, we will do that reporting, but yes. Okay, you have not seen it, but it Nivedita, it does happen at times especially in hinterland, and one needs to be aware of it. Domestic violence is something very commonly seen. Just does not happen between men and or married couples. It can also happen in live-in relationships. And any pattern of behavior used to gain or maintain control and power over a partner is something known as domestic violence. And we as gynecologists in this field see a lot of it. Women do not come out straightforwardly, but we know what has happened, and further probing and talking to them as friends, as a trustworthy service provider, we do get a lot of information. Most of the victims of domestic violence do not know that they are being abused. And it typically happens if you as a child, as a son or a boy, has grown up seeing your father do this to your mother, you would think that this was normal, and therefore you might fall into the trap of doing this yourself. It is interesting to point out here, we have done about 105 workshops and trainings of students across the country so far. We have trained about 10,000 students so far in this Dheera program. And it was interesting to see how many girls came up and spoke on the platform saying that their father was beating up the mother, and in their mind, they thought this was normal. The girls thought it was normal, forget the boys. And if they thought this was normal, what would happen is when they became adults and got married and had children of their own, and if something like this was done by their husbands to them, they would again think it normal and would not report it. But mind you, this is not normal. Domestic violence is an absolute no-no, irrespective who is the perpetrator. Examples essentially of use of coercion, threats, use of intimidation, emotional abuse, isolating the person, minimizing, denying, and blaming, using children. A lot of the times, parents do use, children as bait for, making sure that domestic violence is carried out. Using male privileges, using economic abuse, is something that they do. Typically, this is what one goes through in a cycle of abuse. There is an explosion in terms of domestic violence or otherwise. The person, apologizes, seeks help, breaks down, fights back, and leaves. Then there is a period of remorse. Oh gosh, what did I do? Why did I do? Returns back. He apologizes. He is, forgiven. But tries to go to therapy. So there is a bit of honeymoon period there that everything is hunky-dory and great. And everybody around is relieved and they back off, but suddenly there is some underlying issue because of tension builds up, there's anxiousness, and it's almost like walking on eggshells at that point in time, and they're leading to another explosion. So this entire cycle keeps going on, and therefore it needs to be put a stop to appropriate action to be taken. So there is a Domestic Violence Act of 2005 which covers physical, sexual, verbal, and economic abuse. It grants immediate protection, punishes the abuser with imprisonment of up to 3 years. So there is help available. There are acts available. They may take some time to, come to the fore in terms of getting you relief or someone that kind of relief. But please take heart. Please take confidence that they are available at your beck and call. So ending vow, one step at a time, is what we are attempting to do. We are a mere small piece of jigsaw puzzle that we are fitting into the larger picture of stopping and ending violence against women. Reiterating, post-test and feedback will be shared with you at the end of the program. So please do click on the link and go ahead and submit the thing. With that, we come to the end of our second topic. Thank you very much for a patient hearing so far. I will request our next speaker, Dr. Kiran Mai, who is from Hyderabad, one of the pioneers of this entire initiative as we have driven it across the country, not just now, but for several years that she has been associated over there. She's a professor in one of the medical colleges at Hyderabad. Over to you, Kiranmai. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ajay sir. And thank you for those kind words for me. So I think this group has been the most active in the chat, really. So they have been putting up in the chat box. That is very encouraging because we understand, because it's an online platform that shows how our lectures are going across and how you are receiving them. Absolutely very engaging and invested with the program. Thank you so much. So Ajay sir has laid the foundation for the, the topic, what voice, what Dheera program is, and then what are all the types of violence against women. You have seen how extensive the forms can take. It's not just a physical violence. So the types of violence is mind-boggling, and we see in day out. So now we come to the middle component of this module, which deals with the immediate management strategies, how to protect ourselves and how to take action when one of our friends is facing this, and also as bystanders. Bystanders means just we are standing by when the incident has happened. We don't know the person, but still we can take action. So that is called bystander activism. So these the two topics that I'll go ahead with. I'll share my screen. So yeah, let me stop share. Let me go from the beginning. Please continue to be active in the chat box.
Yeah, while Kiranmai, you're getting on to the presentation. Folks, I will have to leave for another session. I just joined in last minute here. So Kiranmai and Lakshmi, can I request you to please take over and
Sure,
take the session? Thank you so much. And all the very best.
Keeping in for one of us, as you always do.
Please do post the post test and feedback at the end of the session. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the management strategies. So as I have told, one is what we can do immediately, then what we can do as bystanders. So you all have registered and done pre-test. So that is how you are here in this meeting. And also Shriman will post the post-test and feedback link at the end. Please do complete it so that you'll get a wonderful certificate both by Foxy and UNICEF. So in the first presentation itself, we have seen what are the factors that contribute to this violence against women. The roots are deep. It is, the gender bias, the social discrimination, drugs, troubled childhood, lack of compassion, alcohol adding to it, then complex issues, stress and other things. So these are the roots that make the tree of war very strong. So there is this violence against women mindset, which is nurtured since childhood based on the way a child is brought up and sees things at home in the family. So suppose you see someone being harassed or abused. These are the things that you have to do. First thing is don't be afraid. And we keep telling throughout this module about three things, that is listen, believe and support. So always listen to the victim story. This doesn't happen most of the times. We kind of disbelieve the victim story. We kind of ask proofs and evidences, and we kind of say if only you had not done that, maybe this would not have happened. So we put the onus or the blame on always the victim or survivor. So that is the most important first step, that is without judgment, without any interruption. You just have to listen to the story the victim has to say. And the second thing is reassure them. Say that, I believe you, I am with you, and believe their story. Don't suggest by way of your body language or your words that you don't believe their story. And again, do not blame the victim. it is not the victim's fault, it is the perpetrator's fault. Always put the blame on the perpetrator. Now, the least we can do is to keep an eye on the situation to make sure it is not getting too dangerous, and we can ask the victim or the survivor about their immediate plans. I mean, what they are planning to do, what do they have in their mind. And then, as you all have suggested in the chat box repeatedly, that we can report to a higher authority, be it a teacher, parent, or police, depending on whom you trust and what the situation is. If it happens in the school, maybe teacher is the right person. If it is happening in and around relatives, parents might be the right people. Or if it is happening in more serious situation, police might be the right person. And always respect their decisions. Sometimes they don't want to complain, or sometimes they want to wait, or sometimes, you know, they want to take a certain course of action. Always respect their decision and keep the conversation going. Like, always keep in touch with that person. And also, inadvertently, sometimes our own actions can harm the victim. So we have to be mindful of that, that our actions do not harm either us or the victim. So suppose if I'm being abused, or you are, ourselves we are being abused, then the first thing is to recognize that this is abuse and also the toxicity of it. And this abuse, as Dr. Ajay was telling in the previous slide, it goes on and on. It's like a cycle of abuse in the name of love, in the name of affection, in the name of I'm caring for you. So that toxicity has to be recognized, and immediately we have to leave the vicinity of the abuser and avoid escalating situations, and carefully report the incident. So, and keep the evidence of the abuse by recording and photographing. Always it helps to keep the evidence. If it's a chat, or if it's a message, if it's a video, or if it is something, so, if it is any evidence is there, it is better to record and keep it photographed. And also helps to keep a safety kit. Suppose you have to leave the place where abuse is happening, be it a home or a hostel or school or any place. So a safety kit which can include, or when you're traveling from home to some place, or you're going alone. So safety kit, depending on what the purpose is, it can include, your phone, battery, or a pair of clothes, or even a pepper spray, or even something, which you might need. Then always trust, and there are people whom we trust. They could be a friend, neighbor, or your own doctor or a police officer. Always let people know of the abuse. Don't keep it under the blanket. Don't keep it hidden. Always let at least one or two people know what is happening. So it is not a shameful thing for you. It is shameful for the perpetrator. So speaking out is very important. So don't let the abuser rob you of your voice. Claiming your voice back is very difficult. It is very scary. It could be very complex. You may find it very difficult to voice it, but believe your words have power. And speaking up is the first step to end violence, to seek help, to voice, and then taking a stand, because your abuser is definitely afraid of your voice always, and that is the first point where it starts to end. So again, when once a victim or a survivor tells it, so you can see it in the picture, why I didn't report. This is because there are so many questions put to the victim. Did you provoke him? Did you scream? That's what boys generally do. Do you have any proof? I don't believe you. What were you wearing? When did you go? Why did you go at such a night? Why did you go alone? Why were you wearing this? So this is like nothing but letting down another generation of victims. So this should never be done. Always believe, don't blame, and don't let people forget that once someone commits an abuse, and if we let that abuser go, and if we don't support the victim, they are prone to doing it again and again. That is what is happening in our society. And technology is a great thing. Though it is a double-edged weapon, it has so many safety options. These are all the safety apps that we have in our country. For example, we have a She Teams app, and then 100 number, as well as Cyberabad police app is there. So I think each town, city has a safety protection apps, download them, familiarize them. Don't think you will use it when necessary. Try them and download them and see them and get familiarized with at least one of these apps. And always, the recently I went to Ludhiana and I had to drive from Chandigarh to Ludhiana. Still, I put my live location and shared it with my family and also with the organizers. So always it might look really, exaggerated kind of action, or may not be necessary. That's what we feel, because but always if you get into the habit of sharing your live location with those you trust by default, it's not when you're traveling at night or when you're alone. Whenever you're traveling, if you share your live location with your trust, that becomes a habit, and it adds a lot to the safety. And whenever there is a doubt, take pictures of the license plate and share it with police or your family, and in case of emergency activate this location and app. Definitely, so these are the things that definitely will help out. There was an incident in Hyderabad, unfortunately. uh, I don't know how many of you remember. It was a very gruesome incident which happened in the outer ring road circle at around 9 o'clock. See, from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, the girl was, tracked. She was trapped, and her vehicle was damaged, and their vehicle was taken away for repair, and they have kind of kidnapped her, and everything was going on, and people were around, in and around, and she had a phone, and she was so scared that she called up her sister. And by the time the family went to the police station, police people have said there was a lot of delay. They didn't believe, and they started asking questions, and by the time the police reached, everything has happened, and the poor girl was, she was found murdered in a very gruesome manner. So that was a failure on so many accounts. Uh, so that should never happen. And this is the universal distress signal, the help sign. This is universally accepted. You can see here, palm to camera and tuck the thumb and trap the thumb. You can just try it on camera on your own. And this is another video which shows the same thing.
Face your palm to the camera or to the person you're seeking help from. Tuck your thumb. Trap the thumb with the remaining fingers.
So this we have to, yeah. So that is the distress signal. We should learn how to use it when we need, also to understand when someone is using, that person is in distress. Now, what do we do if we see the signal? We have to check in with the person safely. That is very important. We should not raise a hue and cry that might lead to a further problem, pushing that person into the danger, to find out what they need and what you can do. For example, if you find the distress signal, calling up that person will make the phone ring, and it makes a loud noise, and then the perpetrator or the abuser, if he is around, then that will lead to a further danger to that person. So you have to act very safely. If you find a threat or a danger, call the local police and helplines mentioned later. And these are the helpline numbers. Just take a picture of this slide. So 1091 is All India Women's Helpline. 181 is a very important domestic abuse, specifically for domestic abuse. And there is one child helpline. It is easy to remember. It is 1098. So 181 and 1098 are the universal numbers. And these are other, National Commission for Women, Delhi Commission for Women, etc. So always keep these numbers. They work. I tried the child helpline number many times. They come immediately and they take action. They tell you the how they have acted upon. So all these numbers work. Don't think that these numbers are just for the sake of display or anything. So again, these are many other numbers. I would suggest you just take down the child helpline, that is 1098. Remember it always. And then the women's domestic violence number 181. Okay, and then the other number 1091. So suppose you or your friend is facing this, you have discussed, and then you have told your family or friends or teacher, and now most important is to report. Always report the incident to police or special police unit, and it's important to record the statement within 24 hours, because if it happens, if there is a delay between any incident and the reporting process, the evidence does get delayed and disturbed, and it might not be useful. And if there is something like a sexual assault which has happened, you have to go to the hospital for medical examination by a female doctor. Again, this is important, which leads to collection of evidence, and they will document all the injuries, and then everything will be recorded, and it can be helpful in while going for the court judgments. And also the magistrate, if necessary, will record the statement, and there are special courts for these assault and other incidents which complete trial within 1 year. So girls are strong, equal, and so let's keep them that way. So thank you. So again, go for the post test at the end of this module. Let's be courageous together to say no to violence against women, and that is hashtag Dheera together. So when time comes, let's tweet together to make it in 1 lakh voices. And I'm that all of you will join this.
Dr. Kiranmai, can I interrupt?
Yes, ma'am.
Like these are my known schools which are being attached. These
Yes,
schools,
ma'am.
these school students are my known school students. So I just want to give them a message, that's all. So can I say a few words? And
absolutely, ma'am. Ma'am, please go ahead. Once you talk to them and interact, and then we'll go to the next.
Now I want to say a few words to them.
Yes, ma'am.
These are that I am Dr. Chandralata, AOGD Delhi, and so Foxy member. So I am very thankful to the Foxy for making me part of this, prestigious project. And Dheera, this project is, very near and dear to the heart of our, dynamic and respectable president of Foxy, Dr. Shanta Kumari Madam. So we are also like whole of the team, yourself and everybody is making it so successful. So I am also very, thankful to all of you that I have been made a part of it, and I could help Madam for, Shanta Kumari, in providing some students. So they are my known students. So I thought it is very nice that this new generation must know about all these things. So I'm thankful to them also, to my students and my school principal, that they have asked these students to know about this violence against women. So we in Dheera, all together, courageous, and the power of togetherness, raising courageous voice against violence for women. So I think my these students of my school are giving good, responses.
The most active interaction we had ever seen on chat box. They know the topic, they are well versed, and they are invested, and they are really good, ma'am. And yeah, I hope you got the universal signal across. And if you can come on camera and show it, we'll be very happy.
Yeah.
राज, अगर ये तुझे प्यार करती है तो ये पलट के देखेगी.
Can we all come on camera for the universal distress signal? I see one Shah Rukh Khan here.
Yeah.
With the dialogue.
And dialogue also was there.
Yes. Nice. Okay, thank you.
We have to tell them to start their videos.
Yeah, please start your videos, and just once, okay, tuck your thumb, fold your hands. All girls. Yeah, I see Manik again here.
Even males also.
Yes,
Boys
yes.
also.
Boys are there. Actually, we were trying to guess your gender by your names. Again, that was a default thing, which we told we should never do, or we can never do. Okay. So any name can mean anything. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. You can carry on, with the further proceedings.
Thank you, ma'am, for getting all the schools, and all the children are absolutely, very dynamic and
very, interactive ones.
yes. So we'll go to the next bystanders. Again, at the end of this session, I would like to all of you to put in the chat box what are the 5 Ds of active bystanders or bystander activism. So it is, the courses are there in US and West going on. So are you able to see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
I think I shared the another one. Okay. I'll go to this one, bystanders. Right. Okay. Yes. So another reminder for pre-test and post-test and feedback, and also about the certificate. So who is a bystander? It is an individual who observes an act of violence. As I have told, bystander is someone who is standing just by the side, who is seeing the violence or any incident or an accident. See, many times who are more like there are survivors, there are perpetrators, and there are bystanders. So bystanders, they are lot of bystanders when compared to abusers as well as victims. So bystanders have a great role. So most of the times what happens is we just are passive because we do not know what to do, how to do, and also regarding because of the dangers involved, and we don't know what exactly we are supposed to do. So that we are all bystanders. And when it comes to accidents also, maybe a decade back, even accidents also, we never used to act. We always used to just see and pass by, because taking to the hospital would involve informing the police, and then it becomes a case and you have to go to the court, and all those things were there. Then came, the government kind of made it very liberal, that you don't have to go to the courts or case will not be made. And then came the 108 ambulances, and I think they are known by different numbers and names in different states. But these ambulances, so what does the bystander do when he sees an accident? He simply dials that number, that emergency number, and the ambulance comes and picks up, and it is taken care of. And even if you take them to the hospital, you are not troubled. So that made that made the whole situation about accidents so very useful, and lot of lives were saved. So also in this violence against women or assaults, etc., the role of bystanders is a lot if we really understand what they can do. So there are 2 types of bystanders. One is passive, who do not act or intervene, again because of social influence, audience inhibition, or fear of retaliation. And also our attitudes. Why should I help? I'm late for work. I have to go home, or I have to go to office. Someone else will help. So even how do we know who is at fault? That other person may be dangerous. So all these thoughts occur in our brain, and then we generally don't intervene. And the active bystanders are people who stand and who speak up and who act. So there are 5 Ds of the active bystanders, which we can consider as weapons. Just focus on these 5. Most of the things are which we can do. So one is distract. The first D weapon is distract. So it's a subtle and safe way to intervene. Suppose there is some argument or some teasing, or a group of people is trying to harass a woman or a girl in a bus stop. Now, what you can do, you can distract them, like pretending to be lost, and you can just ask them, "Bhaiya, kya time ho raha hai?" Or the address of a place. I want to go to this place. Do you know where this is? Or you can act that you know the person who is being harassed. Like you can just act as if you can call by some name and say, "How are you? What are you doing here?" And you just can do something irrelevant, like acting giddy, or try to talk something irrelevant and take the attention of the harasser. So what does it do? It gives some time for the victim to slip away, or the harasser also knows, yes, somebody is observing, and they might just keep quiet. So then comes the delay. Delay also is a method of distraction. where it can delay can reduce the severity, like asking if she's okay, and you can tell her, see, I'm going that way only, you want me to accompany you, or you can just sit there for some time, sit with her, talking to her, so that also delays, and it can sometimes avert the situation, or it can buy you some time so that you can call up some people, or you can take the help of others, or some idea may come. So that is delay. So instead of just leaving the place, you can either distract or delay. Then comes delegate. Delegation is when you ask for an assistance, for a resource, or for from help from a third party, especially in a crowded place. For example, when there is a shop around, and you can ask the shopkeeper, or if it is a bus, you can ask the bus conductor or driver. If it is a school, you can ask your teachers, anyone. So instead of you doing entirely the savior act, you can involve the other people. That is delegation. That is a third D. Then the fourth is document. Suppose if you are seeing certain incident going on, and someone is trying to help her out. Now if it is like you are safe and the other person is also safe with someone helping her, then you can record it on your phone. But you have to, once you record, you can't put it everywhere or share with any person. You have to ask the person who was harassed, that I have recorded so and so because I thought it might be useful. Now what do you want to do with this? That is very important in documentation. And again, documentation should be done when the situation is safe for you and also for that other person. And most importantly, we see a lot of such unwanted footage being shared on social media, and the person who is already victimized, she feels even more victimized because it is shared so much on the social media. This unnecessary attention, unwanted attention, makes her even more depressed and can lead to a visibility that the person may not want. So this is very bad. Like, publicizing another person's traumatic experience is not an effective way to be a bystander. So that is very important to learn. When you record, you have to share it with the person or the victim, or with her permission, you can share it with the authorities only after she agrees. Okay, then it comes the fifth D, that is direct. This is confronting the harasser. This may not be safe, it can be risky because the harasser may direct their abuse towards you, and it can escalate the situation and lead to more violence. So you have to do this only when it is safe. Like, for example, if the harasser is your own friend or known to you, or when there is some other person who can help you. So you have to be very careful when you directly respond to this situation. But you have to be confident but also cautious. And the golden rule is, please intervene when it is safe for you to do so, and it should not harm either you or the victim. And if at all you feel it is not safe, please call the police, that is 100, or the child helpline number 1098. This is the golden rule you all have to remember always. So again, more ways to get involved. Again, already you are doing with the help of your Dr. Chandralata madam and your school principals, etc., that you are being part of such programs, which are telling you how to act in case of violence against women. And you can organize plays or nukkad nataks or essay writing competitions, and you can practice bystander interventions, and appreciate someone who does this. So these are some of the other ways to get involved. And always one important thing to be an active bystander is not to say the wrong things. So these sentences actually I have put up from the Disha case at Hyderabad. Time and again, even after her death, we heard all these sentences being uttered by even authorities, ministers, police people. These four lines I have not put up. We have not put up just like that. These were the questions asked even after she died. Why did she go at night? Why did she park her scooter there? Why did she go alone? Why did she call her sister instead of 100? These were all the wrong things to say, but they were said so many times. So victim blaming should never be done, never. So the least we can do is not to blame the victim herself. So with this comes the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Madam, I have filled the form yesterday because we were there in this program. So now there is no need for me to fill the post test now.
Post test also should be done, ma'am. Post test
Today?
link.
Today
Post test.
also.
Yeah, that is pre-test. Post test will be the same questionnaire that has to be answered, and
Acha, no.
then comes
I mean, I have to do that.
Yes, yes. He'll post it in the chat box after the.
When it is over, you will post it. So this is separate with children's related to children's violence and all that. Okay.
What are 4Ds? You can just put down as Dr. Lakshmi Madam takes the next presentation. With this, I invite Dr. Lakshmi Shrikande. Madam is a very senior person, very busy also, but she takes time always.
Host, just a minute, Kiran. Please allow me screen sharing. Host has disabled my screen sharing.
I think he'll make you co-host.
Yeah.
So she always takes time for all the school programs to be with students and all the social causes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Kiranmay. You have given a wonderful talk, and I know how hard you are working for this Dheera campaign. And after your talk, now it's turn to educate and sensitize students about bridging the gender divide. My slides are visible. I'm all. Hello, Dr. Kiran.
It is in the slide sorter view. You have to go to the slideshow mode, I think.
But it is showing me the slideshow.
No, we are seeing all this 20 slides at once.
Oh my God. Just a minute. Sriman, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you send me another link so that I can log in from my desktop and I can share my screen?
Okay, madam. Okay,
just send me immediately one link so I will be very comfortable with my desktop. Yeah.
Yes, okay, ma'am. I'll send you now.
Yeah. Now is this full screen visible, Dr. Kiran? Hello?
Yes, it is visible. It is visible, ma'am. Make it slideshow, actually.
No, on my laptop, I think there is some glitch because it is showing me full screen, but it is not showing you full screen. So Sriman just send me the link. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. I'll do that.
Yeah. Just a minute, just 2 minutes. Meantime, you can have conversation. I will just log in here.
Yeah, you have all put down the answers. Wonderful. If you want to share any queries or anything that you want to talk about, please do so. We have 2 minutes. Meanwhile, by the time Dr. Lakshmi starts sharing her screen, if anything specific that you want to, any one of you wants to share or ask, you can please do so.
Lakshmi madam, you send the link, madam.
Ananya, post test will come in time. Okay, once the last presentation starts, the post test will be shared. What do you think? I mean, the strategies that we have put up here as bystanders or in the management, are they useful or can you practice them or anything that you want to share? Anything? Absolutely. Disha, they are very useful Bhumika, 100% useful. Who should call the helpline? Anyone can call. See, again, I'll go back to the Disha case where she was so scared, she didn't realize that, or she didn't know that she has to call the helpline. Instead, she called the sister. So anyone, if the victim is stable enough at that time and can think, the victim can, or the person can call the helpline, or suppose she calls, like I am the sister, she called me, I can call the 100 helpline immediately. Instead, what happened was they went on talking for some time, and much precious time was lost, because we don't know how dangerous that other persons are. They must have thought it is not that dangerous. Maybe she'll reach home and she'll get her bike back and all those things. We don't think that the people who are there can really be so harmful. But we have to think that it can be harmful. They can be harmful, or the situation can be harmful. There's nothing wrong in calling the helpline. It is, even if it is a false alarm, no one is going to blame you. No one is going to blame us if we call the helpline and the situation is not that dangerous. So don't hesitate, and also keep the location on. That is also very, very important. Even when you are calling the helpline, when you keep the location on and share with the police or the 100 number, they'll reach you in seconds. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Kiran. Shriman is saying, sharing the screen, and then I will take the next two talks, that is bridging gender divide and the peer pressure. Yeah. Shriman, you start screen sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, we are seeing the full screen.
Yeah, because now he is sharing. Next. Yeah, Dr. Kiranmai has already briefed all the participants about the importance of post-test and feedback. Next. So, dear students, when I am showing you this slide, whom do you identify with these names? When I say Nihar, are you imagining a boy or a girl? Or if I saying a Nayan, so whom you are imagining, a boy or a girl? So as you all can see, genders are nothing but socially constructed concepts. Because I know Kamal can be a name of a male or a female. I have seen Parul, which is a very common name. Parul is a name of a boy also and of a girl also. But it is since birth that we all are brought up that way, and gender is nothing but socially constructed concepts. Next. So again, I am coming back to you all students dear. So I am showing you these traits on the slide, and just let me know by these traits whom you recognize, whether these are the traits of a male or a traits of a female. So the list of the traits are active, considerate, aggressive. You can all start putting in the chat box. Creative, ambitious. So only a boy should be ambitious, or a girl can also be ambitious, competitive, independent, emotional, leader, artistic, mechanical, gentle. So how many traits you think that these are the traits of a males, and which are the traits for females? So you all can put in the chat box. Next. So what do we mean by gender stereotyping, which I was telling you in my very first slide? Because these stereotyping are so ingrained in our culture that they become a habitual response. And media and our films, you have seen that even all our teleshows, social media, they all reward the male behavior. That is the violent male behavior. And parents are more likely to use physical punishment with sons than with daughters. How many of you agree here? Because in our side, that is not, Girls are not beaten up because they say ki paap lagta hai. So they are not beaten up, but boys are beaten up. Parents are more likely to tolerate violent behavior in boys than in girls. So they are allowed to be aggressive, they are allowed to be violent. But if a girl raises her voice, she is told that no, you have to go to another house, you have to be very soft, you have to be very gentle. And when girls show aggressive opinion or leadership, they are labeled as bossy rather than a responsible person in the family. So you all agree or disagree? Just put it in the chat box. So these stereotypical rules, they restrict the personal choices, they foster sexism and create unequal outcomes. Next. So whether this gender bias, can we label it as a social evil? I think so, yes, because it is a social evil. In Indian society, I will add world over, women are oppressed officially and unofficially. Discrimination starts when you are young, when girls are expected to do household chores. How many of you will agree that when a brother and a sister is sitting and a mother is coming back from the office, she will tell the girl to go and bring her water or to make a cup of tea for her, but she will not tell her son that you go and bring water for me. And girls, it is expected from your own mother, from your own parent, that girls should behave submissively. Emphasize when women are expected to leave work to raise kids. I think everyone will agree with me that if both are working, then it is the girl or a female who has to sacrifice her career to raise the kids. Male babies are preferred over female babies. I think we have done a lot about gender sensitization and about gender discrimination, and this is sad but true that in Indian scenario, definitely everyone wants male babies over female babies. And what about workplace discrimination? It is also rampant. If an employee is pregnant, then she faces all sorts of discrimination. She is fired, and there is a massive pay gap difference between the male and the female for the same job profile. And the chances of promotion are also restricted for a female employee. And what about sexual harassment? No woman is safe from sexual harassment, whether at work, at college, on the road, or at office. Isn't it a very ironic that in India, we call women as goddesses? And today is the first day of Navratri, where the whole India is there and it's all worshipping the goddess Durga. But what happens when it comes to reality? In reality, do we really respect the girls? That is left to you all to see what is the bitter truth when it comes to our own society. Next slide. So definitely, it is not a level playing field between a girl and a boy at school age, between a man and a woman when they are grown up. Some countries even deny the voting rights to the woman. Many countries, they don't have equal access to education, and this is so true in India as well, more so in rural areas of our India. Child marriages and dowry are still prevalent despite having very strict laws against dowry and child marriages. Women are not given equal opportunities at work, and whenever there is some debate or disagreement, even at home or office, you will agree that one man's voice is considered worth more than that of many women, because man is supposed to be always right. Women definitely have less access to financial resources. Even her own hard-earned money, she has limited access to her own money. And there is not enough representation for women at many places, though she deserves those places, but there is discrimination which is very rampant. Next. So what we can do? because we are involving the boys and the man also, because when we are talking about gender equity, it just can't be done if we only females are joining hands and we only females are working. We have to have the participation of opposite gender to create a gender neutral, gender responsive and equal society to eliminate gender inequality and gender bias. So here, if boys are with me, I would urge you that if in your household you are having a sister, and if you see that there is gender discrimination, that your sister is not allowed equal access to education, if she is facing any kind of discrimination, please be vocal, be active, and at least start from your own home and see to it that in your home you do not have any gender discrimination as far as your sister or even your mother is concerned. Next issue. Next slide, please. So boys, it is not enough to commit violence, because I am sure many of the boys who are listening to me, they will say, ma'am, we don't commit any violence. We are a very, very good citizen of India. But no, it is your duty to work towards gender equal society. And for that, there are 8 steps which you all must be willing to take, so that not only you, but the other man should also not commit any kind of violence when it comes to the woman. Next. So what is the first step? So first and foremost is that you should understand that in India, women, they do 3 times more unpaid care and domestic work than men. Do you all agree? Have you seen your fathers doing the domestic chores in your house? Have you, you yourself are doing any domestic chores and helping your mother? How many of you are actually doing domestic chores? Because it is always considered to be the domain of the female, to be the domain of the daughter, to be the domain of the sister. So you have to first start from this household domain. Women, they spend energy and emotional labor at home with family instead of advancing career or looking after themselves. Do you all agree? You all must have seen your mothers. She's sacrificing her career, her own health, her own desires for the well-being of the family members. Appreciate those who are helping you unconditionally. Respect the sacrifices being made for you, and offer to help. That is what I was telling. Offer to help, be it to your sister, to your mother, to your teachers, wherever you can. You have to offer the help. Next slide, please. I'm so happy that students are writing that my father is doing domestic chores. Very good. Second step is you have to hold yourself accountable. Respect man and woman equally. I know it is very easy to say, no, ma'am, we respect the woman, we respect women everywhere we see. But how many of you actually respect them from your heart? I know sometimes it is out of compulsion to your teacher, to your parents, but respect them from your heart. Be aware of your own behavior, and you have to be open to criticism. Change yourself whenever you see any toxicity in your home, in your surrounding, in your school, or in your office. Next. Now it is your duty, dear students, to change the notions of traditional masculinity. We have already talked about the toxic masculine behavior. Like, just few examples again, that men, they don't cry, they have to be very strong. Do you all agree? Are females not strong? Do females always cry? Do they are always attention seekers? I don't agree. Being a female, I don't agree. You have to treat everyone the same way regardless of gender. Allow yourself the freedom to break norms and challenge stereotypes. I know it requires guts, but that is why we are here and we are catching you young, because young minds are impressionable, and you have to realize that you have to play a great role in changing the society and bringing out a gender neutral society. Do not excuse man just because they are a man, like maybe your brother, your father, your friends. Just because you are a man, you are not excused of certain kinds of toxic behavior. Next. So be a sensitive man. I don't know about your generation, but our generation have seen that Raymond ka ad. Raymond, a complete man. So I will say that by sensitive man, you can see that there are many characteristics which you have to imbibe in yourself to be a complete man, to be a gentleman. Next step. Next slide, please. The fourth step, which you all can do, is examine your own biases. I'm not telling you to share your own biases here, but just do some self introspection. Just see what are your own biases. Girls also, I am telling you also, because most of the times girls also accept that, oh, it's okay. If I am told to do household works, what? I mean, nothing wrong. If I am told to come early, I mean, boys are boys and girls are girls. So we have to be meek, we have to be submissive. So even most of the time, girls also accept that they have to be in this proper behavior, they have to behave in this proper way only. So boys and girls, both of you, you should introspect and see what are your gender biases, and you consider the circumstances that make your life different from yours. So just do introspection, do not judge, shame them for their choices. If your friends or your own siblings, they differ from your your choices, please don't shame them or judge them, but you try to respect the choices of the others. Next slide. Understand the consent. I'm sure everyone must have seen that picture, Pink. No means no. How many of you have seen that Amitabh Bachchan ka movie? And these are the phrases which is commonly used, rather loosely used, when a boys and girls are mingling. Ki hasi to fasi. If a girl is open-minded and if she is extrovert, then she is labeled as not of a good character. So friends, both boys and girls, remember, consent has to be a clear consent. Yes means yes. And if she is saying no, it means no. If she is asking for it, why couldn't you? Boys will be boys is never acceptable. So whenever you see any kind of discrimination, both boys and girls, don't start blaming the victim, because that is a very wrong on your part to blame the victim. Rather, you all should go all out and be supportive as far as that victim is concerned. Remember, consent has to be freely given. It is reversible. If she has said yes, she has every right to say no, no to you. It has to be an informed consent. It has to be enthusiastic consent. I mean, not out of compulsion or out of fear. And it has to be a very specific consent. So this is the consent which every boy must remember when they are interacting with the girls. Next step. Next slide. How many of girls agree with me that all women, they experience sexual harassment at least once in their lifetime? They also experience sexism once a week. And you have to call out such behavior in a safe, respectful manner. Boys, this is the sixth step for you towards your role for having a gender equal society. You have to be an active bystander. Dr. Kiran has already told you what do we mean by active bystander. And even if the culprit is your friend, relative, or co-worker, please don't excuse them. Take an active stand and try to help out and reach out to the victim. Next slide. Seventh step is you have to challenge gender stereotyping. Question your own stereotyping and prejudices. Challenge any stereotypical notion of gender, like women are not good at driving. I am really seeing and feeling whenever even I am driving. I mean, if the male is the driver, they will say, female hai. I mean, she is not a good driver. So driving is not dependent on a gender. It is a skill which can be acquired by both man and woman equally. So don't have gender stereotyping. This is just an example, a driving. And you have to counter these gender stereotyping arguments with the facts. Like I am counteracting this stereotyping fact about driving. Next slide. Eighth step, which is very, very important, is that you have to believe the survivor. Every time a woman speaks up about her experiences, most of the time she's just not believed because of the toxic culture. She's just making up. She's giving excuses. How can she be right? I mean, she's of loose character because she is always freely mingling with the others. Please don't judge. You have to believe the survivor, listen carefully to the survival story, believe in her story, and support her in whatever way you can. You have to be an ally to the survivor, and you should offer your unconditional support to the survivor. Next slide. This slide is for girls also. Most of the time, जो बोलते हैं ना कि स्त्री ही स्त्री की शत्रु होती है, so most of the time, if your close friend is facing some kind of problem, you say, हाँ, वो तो ऐसी ही है, इसलिए उसके साथ में ऐसा हुआ है. Please, 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 girls, bond yourself, be with the other woman, and support them unconditionally. So even Google is, you can see that Google is having this gender stereotyping. The moment you type woman should, Google automatically prompts you that woman should stay at home, women should not work, they should be seen and they should not be heard. How many of you agree with this Google ka gender stereotyping? Boys, girls. So if Google is doing all this kind of gender stereotyping, don't you think that you all have a great role to play towards having a gender neutral society? Next slide. So I hope everyone agrees with this slide. Where there is a will, there is a way. Am I right, boys and girls? Where there is a will, there is a way. So we means you all also. We can do anything. We can be anything. Right? Agreed? Next slide. So this was all about the gender stereotyping. I'm sure I'm able to give you a clear-cut message that it is for both boys and girls to introspect, to see what are your own gender biases and prejudices, work on them, and contribute towards creating a gender-neutral society. Again, after this whole session, you have to fill the post-test form and a feedback form. Yeah, next PPT, Shriman. So, yeah, whenever you are doing tweets, we encourage everyone to tweet by using the hashtag Dheera together so that you all can add your voice and your noise so that we can reach out to all the policymakers as far as this violence against women is concerned. I will take questions after the next presentation, right, Dr. Kiran? I will just finish the peer pressure as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Shriman, share. This is very, very important for all the school and college students, that is decoding the peer pressure. Next slide. Because most of the times, whatever you do, even if you are not willing, you all do it under peer pressure. So in this presentation, our main highlight is how to identify a toxic environment, the good versus bad touch, the concept of consent, which I've already highlighted in my previous presentation, and the power of no. Next slide. Next slide. Struman? Yeah. So when I am saying peer pressure, can anyone tell me what do you understand by peer pressure? In simple words, peer pressure is any influence that peers have on each other to conform to the behaviors and personal habits of a group. You want to belong to that group, so you want to imbibe the behavior of that group, even if it is not convenient to you or even if it is not suiting your own values. And most of the time, peer pressure is too subtle to identify, but it has ginormous effects. Next slide. So what are the types of peer pressure? It can be a spoken peer pressure where one peer openly persuades another. Like if your peer is smoking and he will say, "Kar lena, kuch nahi hota hai, just one puff, it will not harm you." So this is a kind of spoken peer pressure, but it can be an unspoken peer pressure as well, where one peer is persuaded by the by exposure to the behavior. So you just observe them, you want to belong to that group and you are getting carried away. So this is unspoken peer pressure. It can be direct peer pressure where one peer has to make an spot decision. Like I gave you as example of cigarette. Your peer is handing you a cigarette and whether to say yes or no. If he is offering you a alcoholic drink, whether to say yes or no on the spot. This is a direct kind of peer pressure. Indirect kind of peer pressure when a peer overhears another person gossiping and changes behavior due to indirect pressure. Peer pressure can be negative, where a peer group is pressurizing you to behave against your moral code. But remember, students, peer pressure can be positive as well, where you see that if your peer group is very, very studious, very competitive, they are having outdoor games, they are having outdoor activities, they are having hobbies, they are very, very creative, then this peer pressure can be positive as well. So it depends on you how to handle these kinds of peer pressure. Next slide. So what are the signs of a toxic environment? And this every boy and girl should understand. If you are so-called, I will not say friend because a real friend will never make you feel bad about yourself. If that so-called friend makes you feel bad about yourself, if your friendship is on his or her own terms, you are not sure where you stand, gossip is constant, effort to maintain that friendship is one-sided, that is you are giver and the other person is always a taker. When your peer group is not respecting your boundaries, when you feel pressurized to do certain things which you don't want to do, and then when there is a competition that you want to be popular, in that group, you are terrified that one mistake could make your peer group leave you and to debar you from their group. And these all kinds of toxic environment and toxic behavior encourage to bring out the worst traits in you. Next slide. So in life, you should be able to spot out who are your real friends and who are your fake friends. So how to avoid uncomfortable situations? First and foremost, for boys also, don't think that only girls are vulnerable for sexual exploitation or for any kind of untoward incident. It can happen with the boys as well. So first and foremost is avoid going out with strangers, especially to a lonely, deserted places. Make sure your parents or siblings are aware of your whereabouts. This we always encourage, and this most of the times the students, they don't agree with us because of various reasons, whether parents are strict parents, they start judging you or whatever. But understand that if something goes wrong with you, Your parents cannot come to you for your rescue because they are just not aware of about your whereabouts. So please make it sure that they know about your actual whereabouts and not fake whereabouts. Always take a phone with you, see to it that it is fully charged, see to it that your location is on. Whenever you are out, or even if you are at home or office or school, please respect the other people's boundaries, draw your own boundaries, be confident to say no. When you want to say no, please say no loud and clear. And if you feel that there is any kind of danger to yourself, do dial the police number, that is 100. Next slide. Shriman, next up. So the first step, students, you all will agree with me that first, if you want to clean the toxicity, first you have to understand. You have to understand and differentiate the toxic people. So what are the toxic traits in a boys which you should avoid, and what are the toxic traits in the girls which you should avoid? So let us first see what toxic traits in a boys which you have to be which you all should avoid. If this boy is against feminism, if this boy is rude to their mothers, sisters, and their female colleagues, if he doesn't respect your physical boundaries, if this boy pressurizes you to send your nude pictures, boys who start fights for no reason, who uses slurs like, I don't want to, but you all know what are the different slurs which are very common in this 21st century, boys who comment on a girl's appearance without asking for her opinion, and boys who make very, very vulgar jokes. What are the girls' toxic traits? Girls who think it is unmanly to cry, girls who hit or slap their boyfriends, girls who are totally materialistic, girls who call other girls by various names, girls who don't respect your physical boundaries, who call you a girl thinking it's an insult, and girls who don't think man can be victims of abuse and rape. These are just examples. You can identify various other toxic traits in both boys and girls in your vicinity. Next slide. So whenever you are setting boundaries, please put yourself first. Set boundaries you are comfortable with. So if you get a call and you are not comfortable, so you can end that call. I can stay for half an hour. You want to say no, but there are various means where without hurting the opposite person, you can come out of that uncomfortable situation. But if it goes far, then you should be very loud and clear in saying no. Next slide. Good touch versus bad touch. I am sure you all are students of 9th, 10th, and you all have been taught about the reproductive biology. These are the spots, but to tell you frankly that your private parts, nobody should be allowed to touch. So these good touch, bad touch, we are teaching to all school students, and you all should remember that your body is a temple and nobody is allowed to touch without your consent. And when you see that somebody is touching your body or reaching your boundaries, please say no, and say this no loud and clear. Next slide. Consent, I have already emphasized, but again, for both boys and girls, no means no. So if a girl is saying no, you should accept that no gracefully. Don't make it an ego issue. How can she say no to me? What she thinks of herself? No. No means no. If she is giving you a consent and if it is a clear consent, yes, be happy. But always ask for consent. Do not assume that this consent has been given to you just because she is talking freely, she is smiling, she is mingling, does not mean that she has given you consent for further acts. And whether once she gives you consent, you have to respect that consent. More so when she says no, you should be in a position to respect that consent and to accept that consent gracefully. Never force any girl to give you consent without her own will and wish. Next slide. So how you all can stand up to peer pressure? I know we all tell time and again that, dear students, please don't fall into the trap of peer pressure, especially when it is a negative peer pressure, when it is a toxic peer pressure, and which is giving you, trapping you into the bad habits. So you should all know how to stand up to this negative peer pressure. So just say no. Leave the scene and say, I will see you later. You can make up any excuse like, oh, I just remembered I have to go to this place, or my mom has given me some work and I forgot. She will be very angry with me. I have to rush to home. You can use humor if you can use it. You can change the subject and you can suggest a better idea to that person at that moment of time. And remember, dear students, always listen to your gut instinct. Don't get carried away by your peer pressure. Listen to your gut instinct. If your gut is telling, no, this is wrong, you should not do it, so say no and come out of that situation. Next slide. So how many girls and boys you agree for this slide? Because you all have to, you're not, I mean, age is not a bar to respect a woman, because when you are born, you see your mother. If you are having a sister, then you have cousins. You go to school, you have your colleagues, schoolmates, you have your teachers. So you have to respect women and girls. Do remember that your voice can change the world. So speak up. Don't just remain silent. Speak up, and I'm sure if you speak, your voice has the capacity to change the world. Next slide. Yes, every girl's voice is very powerful, provided they know that their voice has a power. Most of the times, girls, they don't just speak up. They are just submissive. They are meek. They think if I speak up, I will be labeled as bossy. I mean, there are various things which girls, they assume about themselves. So just think you are a very bold, strong person and your voice has a power. So again, you have to fill up and a feedback form to earn your certificate. Next slide. Yeah, this is the team Dheera. They have worked day and night for years together to come out with this module for you all students, so that we can sensitize you all about the gender equal society and how you all can handle the peer pressure. So I am sincerely thankful to all these colleagues who have put in their efforts for these modules. Next slide. Yeah, next. This module has been a painstakingly effort by a large team of doctors, artists, and our own backend team, which has created this each and every slide very thoughtfully so that you all can relate with our slides. And I'm sure many of you are having a Twitter account. How many of you are having Twitter account? Just put in chat box, yes or no. And whenever you are using your Twitter account, please let's tweet together, because we want to have 100,000 tweets to add courageous voice to this campaign of Dheera together. So let's tweet together and make our voice more powerful. Next slide. Thank you, dear students. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. If there are any questions, please post it in the chat box and we will try our level best to answer your queries. Dr. Chandar, you want to comment? Yeah. Yes, Dr. Kiran.
Shriman, can you post the link for the post test and yeah. Dr. Chandar ma'am, your final words before we close.
I'm so thankful, so much of hard work has been put by, our Foxy team to educate a young generation. And I am 100% sure that the students of my school, this younger generation, along with their teachers, have learned quite a lot, which they might not be knowing about their rights also, and all the details regarding this violence against women, and as such males also. All of the society must know that like we have got so many helps where we can the ways and helps and apps which we can use and can be helpful to others. So thank you so much. That is all I wanted to say, and thank you so much, Madam Kiranmai and Dr. Lakshmi Shrikande and Dr. Ajay Mane, for this wonderful, deliberation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the link is posted in the chat box. You can click that, and even if not that, when you close this, when you leave this meeting also, you'll be redirected to two options. One is continue, other one is close. You have to click on the continue, then also it opens up this post test and feedback form. So please go ahead and complete the post test and do the feedback. Then only it reaches the central Dheera team and you all will be given certificates. So in case you don't get the post test, please inform. It can be mailed to you also. So all of you have clicked this. Can we close the meeting?
Ma'am, just a minute.
Ma'am. Okay. Shriman, send it to Dr. Chandarlata madam also, the post test. In case, sometimes.
And I shared with the school coordinator also, madam.
Oh, okay, that is nice. So this group was the most interactive and involved in the chat. Though there have been some drop-offs towards the end, but I hope most of you have heard all the sessions. It might take a long way to reach, the real equality, but we have to, take the steps now itself. We are just hoping by talking to you all in this age group, by the time you become adults and you become citizens of this world, things will change for better. Chandarlata ma'am? Some connection issue.
I've got the link, I'm filling it.
Okay.
I've got the link.
I think we will share with you on mail also, no problem. Shall we call it a day? I think today is festival day for most of the states, New Year Day. So wish you all a very happy New Year. We call it Ugadi in this part, and Gudi Padwa, I think.
Maharashtra. Maharashtra, it is Gudi Padwa.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ma'am, shall we end? Yeah.
Bye, students.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Best wishes for your future.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Thank you.
ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye. We wish you all the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.